Hello, this video is to help you with part 3 of Tech Project for Chapter 5. So let's scroll down and see what that one's asking us to do. So in this problem we're going to use StatCrunch to calculate the theoretical probabilities for the 20 coins for problem number 2. So what they're asking you to do in this one is, instead of simulating the tossing of 20 coins a million times, make the calculations of the theoretical probability. Some of these we've already done, like the probability that x equals 12. You did that up here. Where is that? That was right here in part E. You found the probability of getting 12 heads. So you calculated it theoretically here. This is just going to see how StatCrunch does the same thing. And then some other things we haven't calculated, like the probability that x is greater than or less than or equal to 6, greater than or equal to 7, or in between 8 and 16 inclusive. So I'm going to show you how to do this, but I don't want to do the exact problem because I want you to figure that out on your own, but I will show you how the StatCrunch calculator binomial tool works by going to a different problem. So I'm going to look at number 138 from the textbook. This is a problem that we did in a collaborative where we're looking at the percentage of households that watch the Super Bowl. Some of the numbers are different here from the collaborative. We're going to look at 18 households, and it says that 49.1% of all households had watched the game. So this is a binomial distribution thing where you're going to look at 18 households and count how many watch the Super Bowl. So you need to figure out n, p, and q. Looks like n would be 18 because we're sampling 18 households. P is the probability that an individual household we're looking at would have watched the Super Bowl, and it says that's 49.1%, so that'd be 0.491, and then q would be 1 minus that. So what we want to do in StatCrunch is go to Stat and Calculators and Binomial, and that's going to pop up this calculator, and we're going to want to put in our n, p, and q. So n is 18, p is 0.491, and we actually don't have to put in q because the computer knows, the tool knows that q is 1 minus p, so it'll just do that 1 minus adjustment on its own. And then I just need to pop back and look at some of the questions, and we'll start entering those down here, and the answers will show up over here. Alright, so let's have a look at that. Find the probability that x equals 5. So going back to StatCrunch, we'll change this tool right here to an equal sign. So you notice I just clicked on the less than or equal, and it gave me other options. So I'll do an equal. And 5 is what they asked. Let me just double check. Yeah, probability that x equals 5. So when we put that in, it gave us the probability right here. And then we would just put that in our report. I think it's best to use the Snipping Tool to do this one. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up by using my search menu. It's happening off on the side, so you won't see that, but I'm just doing the search to find the Snipping Tool. And then move that out of the way and click on a new snip. You can get the options part if you want. Mainly you need this part of the screen. Again, if you get the whole window, that would be fine, but this is the part we really need. And it doesn't ask you to do this, but we're finding the probability that x equals 5. So I think that we should either do this, circle that, and say there's the answer. Probability that x equals 5 is 0.037, and so on. Or we should type it out later. So that's a kind of quick, easy way to do it while you're capturing. And then I'm going to do Control-C to copy. And let me move that off to the side and go to my report. And that was 3B that asked me to do that. I always like graphs to go on their own line. So I'll Control-V and paste that in. It's pretty big, so I'll make it a little bit smaller. And that brought it back to this page. Everything still looks pretty readable, so I think that's fine. And then let's go to the next part. So what I'm doing here is a little different, right? Because it's different values of n, p, and q. But it's still the same idea. That's how you do an equals. So this is the last part I'm going to put in the report. I think the rest I'm just going to show you how to do. So let's see what the next question is. Find the probability that x is between 7 and 11. Not including the 7, but yes on the 11. So what I would do is click the Between tab, and then it gives me two boundaries like this. So I'd change those to 7 and 11. And then can I click on that? No, I can't change that. So this actually would not be correct because this says including 7 and 11, but if we look back at the problem, 7 is not supposed to be included. So in a situation like that, we'd need to think about, alright, if we want 7 to not be included, let's look at that here again. then what's the first number we really do want? So you need to be in between, so the first number in between that doesn't include 7 would be 8. So I'll have to kind of retranslate it and change that to an 8. And then I'll click compute and it'll give the answer. It shows which bars it's doing. So if you look at the scale, that's 10 and 11. So if this is 10, then also 9 and 8. So what it's actually doing is the 18 choose 8, p to the 8, q to the leftovers, which would be 10, to get the probability for 8, and then it's doing that again for 9, 10, and 11 and adding them all up. And then I would go ahead and do the snipping tool on that. So let me get a new snip, capture that, circle it, and then into the report. I think I'll skip putting it into the report and just focus on showing you how it works, but that's how you do the in-between. And again, we had to kind of adjust what it asked a little bit because they had used a not inclusive, and that's not an option here. But so we just had to think about what the smallest number that they wanted included was. So we go ahead and get rid of that. And let's look at what was next. So the probability that x is greater than 4. So that's not a between, that's a standard, and it's a greater than and 4. And then click compute, and there we go. And then we could capture and circle that one too, and it's showing in red which ones it calculated. So it actually did the probability of well, greater than 4, so that would start at 5, right? So 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 18, which is our value of n, and added all those together. So a lot of work being done for us. And the last one, well, that's it for all those probability questions. The other questions from problem 138 don't really correspond so much to what's going on in the tech project. So I would just point out one thing here on part D when it says use your answer from part C to find the probability that x is greater than or equal to 7. On this one, you are not supposed to be using the StatCrunch calculator. You're supposed to just be figuring out the answer to this one using the answer to this one. So no StatCrunch on this line right here, but just thinking about how this answer can help you get that one. And then the individual, the less than or equal, the in between, we saw examples of all those types. And again, I would suggest circling your answers on all of those windows that you're capturing. All right, so didn't give you the answers to a single question here, but still I hope seeing that other example was useful in seeing how that tool works. So good luck in finishing that one off.